The Evans triplets lived in a small blue house on Pine Street. Sophia, Samuel, and Sarah were 6 years old and looked very much alike with their curly brown hair and bright green eyes. They shared the same birthday, the same last name, and the same mother, but they did not know they had a father. Their mother, Eleanor Evans, was a tall woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She worked hard to take care of her 3 children by herself. Each morning, she woke up early to make breakfast before driving the triplets to school. In the evenings, she helped them with homework and read them stories before bed. "Why does Tommy have a dad and we don't?" Samuel asked one day after visiting a friend's house. Eleanor's smile stayed on her face, but her eyes looked sad. "Some families are different," she said softly. "Our family is special because it's just the 4 of us." The triplets accepted this answer. They were happy in their small blue house with their mother who loved them very much. They did not think much about not having a father. On weekends, Eleanor took the children to the park or the library. Sometimes they went on picnics by the lake where ducks swam close to shore hoping for breadcrumbs. These were the triplets' favorite days. "Can we get ice cream?" Sarah would ask, and Eleanor almost always said yes, even though money was tight. What the children didn't see was how tired their mother was becoming. They didn't notice when she stopped carrying them up the stairs or when she had to sit down after walking up the hill to their house. They didn't know that she visited the doctor when their neighbor Mrs. Wilson watched them after school on Thursdays. In their small bedroom that they all shared, the triplets would whisper to each other at night. "Do you think other kids have the best mom like we do?" Sophia asked. "No way," Samuel said, hugging his teddy bear. "Our mom is the most special." At school, the triplets stayed close together. Sophia was the one who asked many questions and liked to read books. Samuel was good at sports and making friends. Sarah was quiet but very creative, always drawing pictures of their family, 3 small figures and 1 tall one, holding hands under a smiling sun. Their teacher, Miss Thompson, noticed that the triplets never mentioned a father. One day during parent-teacher conferences, she gently asked Eleanor about their family situation. "Their father is not in the picture," Eleanor said simply, her voice firm, "and they don't need to know more right now." Miss Thompson nodded with understanding. Many families in her classroom were different, and the Evans triplets seemed happy and well cared for. What nobody knew was that Eleanor kept a wooden box hidden in her closet. Inside were photographs of a young man with the same green eyes as the triplets. There were letters written but never sent, and 3 small baby blankets with the names Sophia, Samuel, and Sarah stitched in blue thread. Sometimes at night, after the triplets were asleep, Eleanor would open this box and look at these things. She would touch the photographs gently with her fingertips and wipe away quiet tears. "Someday they'll understand," she whispered to herself. "Someday they'll have to know." But for now, the Evans triplets lived in their perfect little world with their loving mother. They went to school, played with friends, and grew a little taller each day. They didn't know that their life was about to change forever. They didn't know that the father they never knew existed was much closer than they could imagine. Every Tuesday morning, Eleanor Evans went to the hospital. The triplets thought she was working at her part-time job. This was the one secret she kept from her children. "Mrs. Evans, your blood pressure is too high again," Dr. Zhang said, looking at her chart with a worried face. "And your heart doesn't sound right." Eleanor nodded calmly. She had known about her heart problem for years. It had started after she gave birth to the triplets. 3 babies at once had been too much for her body. "How much time do I have?" she asked the doctor. Dr. Zhang put down his pen. "If you rest more and take all your medicine, maybe 1 year. Maybe 2. But you need help, Eleanor. You can't keep doing everything alone." Eleanor looked out the window of the small examination room. The leaves on the trees were starting to turn orange. Fall was coming. She wondered how many more seasons she would see. "There is no one else," she said simply. But this wasn't exactly true. There was someone else, Daniel Evans, the triplets' father. Eleanor kept his picture in her wooden box, along with the last letter he had sent from overseas 4 years ago. Daniel had joined the army before the triplets were born. They had agreed he would go, make money, and come back when the children were older. Then his letters stopped coming. Eleanor didn't know if he was alive or dead, and she was too proud to find out. Back at home, Eleanor started making plans. She bought 3 small journals with different colored covers: blue for Samuel, purple for Sophia, and green for Sarah. Every night after the children were asleep, she wrote in these journals. She wrote stories about when the triplets were babies, advice for when they would be teenagers, and all the things she wished she could tell them when they grew up. My sweet Sophia, she wrote in the purple journal. You ask so many questions about everything. Never stop being curious. The world needs people who want to understand why things happen. In Samuel's blue journal, she wrote, You are brave and kind. These are the best things a person can be. I see how you help your sisters and friends. Always keep your big heart open. For Sarah, she wrote in the green journal, Your quiet strength amazes me. You watch and learn before you speak. This makes your words powerful. Trust yourself and your voice. Eleanor's neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, noticed that something was wrong. You're too thin, dear, she said one day when she brought over a homemade casserole. And you look tired. Let me take the children for a weekend so you can rest. Eleanor smiled but shook her head. Thank you, but we're fine. I just need more sleep. The truth was that Eleanor was getting worse each week. She took her pills when the children weren't looking. She sat down to catch her breath when they played outside. At night, her chest hurt so badly that sometimes she couldn't sleep. One evening, while the triplets were brushing their teeth, Eleanor found a lawyer's business card in her purse. She had been carrying it for months. With shaking hands, she dialed the number. Hello, this is Eleanor Evans, she said quietly. I need to make a will, and I need to find someone. The lawyer asked many questions. Eleanor answered in a low voice, glancing at the bathroom door to make sure the children couldn't hear. Yes, their father's name is Daniel Evans. Last known location was with the army, stationed in Afghanistan. I haven't heard from him in 4 years. When she hung up the phone, Eleanor felt both heavy and light. Heavy with sadness that she might not see her children grow up. Light because she had finally taken the first step to secure their future. That night, she tucked the triplets into bed with extra hugs and kisses. I love you to the moon and back, she told them, their special saying. We love you to the stars and beyond, they answered together. Eleanor stood in their doorway, watching them fall asleep. She memorized their peaceful faces, storing the image in her heart. Please find him, she whispered to no one in particular. They're going to need their father. The morning started like any other day. The triplets woke up at 7 o'clock to the smell of pancakes. Their mother always made pancakes on Fridays. It was their favorite breakfast. I want blueberries in mine, Samuel called, running to the kitchen in his blue pajamas. I want chocolate chips. Sarah followed him, her teddy bear dragging behind her. Sophia was the last one to come to the kitchen. She stopped in the doorway. Something was wrong. Her mother was standing by the stove, but she wasn't moving. The pancake in the pan was burning. Mom? Sophia said quietly, then louder, Mom? Eleanor turned slowly. Her face looked strange. Her skin was very pale, and her eyes couldn't seem to focus. Children, she whispered. I need you to. She didn't finish her sentence. Instead, Eleanor Evans fell to the kitchen floor. The pancake pan crashed down beside her. Mom, all 3 children screamed together. Sarah started crying. Samuel stood frozen, his eyes wide with fear, but Sophia remembered what her mother had taught them. She ran to the phone on the wall and pushed 3 buttons, 911. Emergency services. What's your emergency? A woman's voice answered. My mom fell down, Sophia said, trying not to cry. She won't get up. What's your address, sweetie? 128 Pine Street, Sophia answered. Her mother had made them memorize their address and phone number when they were 4 years old. Help is coming, the woman promised. Can you stay on the phone with me? Sophia nodded, then remembered the woman couldn't see her. Yes, she said. The woman asked Sophia to check if her mother was breathing. Sophia put her small hand near her mother's nose like she had seen in a TV show once. She could feel a little air. She's breathing, Sophia told the woman, but her eyes are closed. Samuel had finally moved. He got a blanket from the living room and put it over their mother. Sarah sat on the floor, holding Eleanor's hand and crying. The ambulance came with loud sirens. 2 people in blue uniforms rushed into the house. They asked the children to step back while they checked Eleanor. Your mom is very sick, a woman paramedic told them gently. We need to take her to the hospital right away. We want to go too, Samuel said. The paramedic shook her head. I'm sorry, but you can't ride in the ambulance. Is there a grown-up who can stay with you? Mrs. Wilson next door, Sophia answered, pointing to the house on the right. Everything happened very fast after that. Mrs. Wilson came over, still wearing her bathrobe. The paramedics put Eleanor on a stretcher and carried her to the ambulance. The triplets watched from the front door, holding hands tightly. Your mother will be fine, Mrs. Wilson told them, but her voice shook a little. The children spent the day at Mrs. Wilson's house. They didn't want to play or watch TV. They just sat together on her couch, waiting for news. Mrs. Wilson made them sandwiches for lunch, but none of them were hungry. At 3 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. It was a police officer and a woman in a gray suit. Hello, the woman said, kneeling down to be at eye level with the children. My name is Ms. Jenkins. I'm a social worker. The triplets looked at her with fear in their eyes. Where's our mom? Sarah asked in a small voice. Ms. Jenkins took a deep breath. Her eyes were sad and kind at the same time. I'm very sorry, children, she said gently. The doctors tried very hard to help your mother, but her heart was too sick. She has gone to heaven. The triplets didn't understand at first. Sophia frowned. Samuel shook his head. Sarah kept asking, when is she coming back? But slowly, the terrible truth sank in. Their mother, who made pancakes and read bedtime stories and kissed their knees when they fell, was gone forever. That night, the triplets slept in Mrs. Wilson's spare bedroom. They pushed the twin beds together so they could all hold hands. None of them said it out loud, but they all thought the same thing. What would happen to them now? The day of Eleanor's funeral was cold and gray. Rain fell softly from the sky, like the clouds were crying too. The triplets wore black clothes that Mrs. Wilson had bought for them. They had never worn black clothes before. I don't want to go, Samuel said, his bottom lip trembling. We have to say goodbye to Mom, Sophia told him, even though she didn't want to go either. Miss Jenkins, the social worker with kind eyes, came to pick them up. She had visited them every day since their mother died. She asked them many questions about their family. Do you have grandparents? She had asked. No, Sophia answered. Mom said they died before we were born. What about aunts or uncles? The triplets shook their heads. Any other family members your mom ever talked about? Again, the triplets had no answer. They had always been just the four of them. Now they were just three. The funeral was held at a small church near their house. Many people came, neighbors, teachers from school, and friends of their mother that the triplets had never met before. Everyone said nice things about Eleanor and how much she loved her children. Your mother was the bravest woman I knew, said Mrs. Thompson, their kindergarten teacher. She was so proud of all of you. The triplets sat in the front row, holding hands tightly. Sarah clutched her favorite doll. Samuel kept wiping his eyes with his sleeve. Sophia tried to be strong, but tears kept rolling down her cheeks. After the church service, everyone went to the cemetery. The rain had stopped, but the grass was wet and muddy. The triplets watched as 6 men carried their mother's coffin, a long wooden box with flowers on top. Is Mom really in there? Sarah whispered. Just her body, Miss Jenkins explained gently. The special part of her, the part that loved you, is somewhere else now. As the coffin was lowered into the ground, Sophia noticed someone standing far away under a big oak tree. It was a tall man with dark hair, wearing a black coat. He wasn't standing with the other people. He was watching them. Who's that man? Sophia asked Mrs. Wilson, pointing to the tree. Mrs. Wilson looked up, squinting through her glasses. I don't know, dear. I've never seen him before. The man stayed under the tree during the whole ceremony. He didn't come closer, but he didn't leave either. Sometimes, when Sophia looked at him, she thought she saw him wipe his eyes. After the ceremony, people put flowers on the fresh dirt over Eleanor's grave. Then they started to leave, walking back to their cars. Miss Jenkins told the triplets they could stay a little longer to say their private goodbyes. We'll wait for you by the car, she said, giving each child a gentle hug. The triplets stood alone at their mother's grave. They didn't know what to say. How do you say goodbye to your mother when you're only 6 years old? I miss you, Mom, Samuel finally said. I love you to the moon and back, Sarah added, placing her small hand on the cold dirt. Sophia couldn't speak. She just stood there, feeling like her heart was breaking into tiny pieces. That's when she noticed the man again. He wasn't under the tree anymore. He was walking toward them slowly, like he wasn't sure if he should come closer. As he got nearer, Sophia could see his face better. He had green eyes, just like theirs. His hands were shaking as he stopped a few feet away from the children. "Hello," he said in a low, nervous voice. "My name is Daniel Evans." The triplets stared at him. Evans was their last name, too. "Did you know our mom?" Samuel asked. The man nodded. His eyes were red from crying. "Yes," he said. "I knew your mother very well." Sarah moved closer to Sophia, suddenly shy. "Why are you here?" Sophia asked, always the one to speak first. The man took a deep breath. He looked at each of their faces, one by one. Then he knelt down on the wet grass so his eyes were level with theirs. "I'm here because—" His voice broke. He took another deep breath. "I'm here because I'm your father." The triplets stood completely still. The world seemed to stop around them. The only sound was the wind in the trees and the distant call of a bird. "We don't have a father," Samuel finally said. "Mom said we were special, just the four of us." The man, Daniel, looked down at his hands. "I know," he whispered. "And I'm so sorry about that." The triplets stared at the man who called himself their father. None of them knew what to say. Their mother had never told them about him. "I don't believe you," Sophia said finally, crossing her arms. Her green eyes, so much like the man's, flashed with anger. Daniel Evans reached slowly into his coat pocket and pulled out a worn leather wallet. From inside, he took out a small photo. He held it out for the children to see. "This is your mother and me," he said quietly, "before you were born." The triplets moved closer to look at the picture. It showed a younger version of their mother, smiling widely with her arms around a man, the same man. They were standing in front of a Christmas tree. They looked happy. "If you're our dad, why weren't you with us?" Samuel asked. His voice was both curious and hurt. Daniel's shoulders dropped. "It's a long story," he said, "and I'm not proud of much of it." Miss Jenkins was walking back toward them now. She had noticed the stranger talking to the children and looked concerned. "Children, is everything okay?" she called. "This man says he's our father," Sophia told her when she reached them. Miss Jenkins looked surprised. She turned to Daniel with a questioning look. "Sir, can I ask who you are?" "Daniel Evans," he said, standing up and extending his hand. "I'm their father. I can prove it." Miss Jenkins shook his hand but still looked doubtful. "We should talk in private," she said, nodding toward the children. "Can I meet you at your office tomorrow?" Daniel asked. "I have all the papers, birth certificates, marriage license, everything." "Marriage license?" Sarah asked. She was the quietest of the triplets but always listened carefully. "You were married to our mom." Daniel nodded. "For 2 years before you were born." The children looked at each other with wide eyes. Their mother had been married. She had never told them. Miss Jenkins took out her business card and handed it to Daniel. "Come to my office at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We have a lot to discuss." The next day, the triplets stayed with Mrs. Wilson while Miss Jenkins met with Daniel. They tried to play with their toys, but no one could concentrate. They kept watching the clock. At noon, Miss Jenkins came to get them. She took them to a small room at her office with colorful chairs and pictures on the walls. "Children," she said, sitting across from them, "I talked with Mr. Evans and checked all his documents. He is legally your father." "But why didn't Mom ever tell us about him?" Sophia demanded. Ms. Jenkins sighed. "Mr. Evans has explained some things to me. I think it's best if he tells you himself." Daniel came into the room then. He looked nervous as he sat down in a chair near the children, but not too close. "I was a soldier," he began. "I joined the army right after we found out your mother was pregnant. We needed the money, and it seemed like a good job." The triplets listened silently. "When we learned there were 3 babies coming, you 3, we were surprised and worried about money. The army was going to send me far away for a long time. Your mother and I had a big fight about it." Daniel's voice got quieter. "I thought I was doing the right thing, going to earn money for our family. But your mother thought I was running away from responsibility. We both said things we didn't mean." "So you left," Samuel said. Daniel nodded sadly. "I was sent to Afghanistan. I wrote letters every week at first, but your mother stopped answering. After a year, my letters started coming back marked return to sender. Mom never showed us any letters, Sarah said. I tried to call when I could, but she changed her number, Daniel continued. After my 4 years of service, I was in a bad accident. I spent 2 more years in military hospitals. Were you hurt? Samuel asked, his eyes wide. Daniel rolled up his sleeve to show a long scar on his arm. Yes, but I'm better now. As soon as I could travel, I came looking for you all. But I was too late. Tears filled his eyes. The lawyer told me your mother was very sick. She had been trying to find me too, at the end. But by the time her letter reached me, she was gone. The triplets sat quietly, trying to understand this new information. Their whole lives, they had believed they didn't have a father. Now they had one, but their mother was gone. What happens now? Sophia asked Ms. Jenkins. That's something we all need to figure out together, Miss Jenkins answered gently. Miss Jenkins came to visit them every day. On Thursday afternoon, she brought Daniel Evans with her. Children, she said as they sat in Mrs. Wilson's living room, we need to talk about your future. Samuel kicked his feet against the couch. Sarah clutched her doll tightly. Sophia watched Daniel's face with careful eyes. Your father has asked for custody of you three, Miss Jenkins explained. That means he wants you to live with him. We want to go home, Samuel said. To our real home with Mom's things. Daniel leaned forward in his chair. I understand, he said softly. This is all happening very fast. Do we have to go with him? Sophia asked Ms. Jenkins. He is your legal father, Ms. Jenkins answered. But we want to make this transition as easy as possible for everyone. Sarah, who rarely spoke first, suddenly asked, Where do you live? Daniel seemed surprised by her question. I've rented an apartment not far from your school, he said. It has 3 bedrooms, one for you three, one for me, and one that could be a playroom. We each had our own bed at home, Samuel pointed out. I can get more beds, Daniel said quickly. Whatever you need. Mrs. Wilson brought in cookies and juice for everyone. As she handed Daniel a cookie, she studied his face. You have Eleanor's taste in cookies, she observed. She always liked chocolate chip best too. A small smile appeared on Daniel's face. We used to bake them together on Sundays, he said. Then his smile faded. A long time ago. Ms. Jenkins suggested that the children spend a day with Daniel before making any decisions. You could visit his apartment and see how it feels, she said. The triplets looked at each other. They often seemed to talk without words, something their mother had called their special connection. Okay, Sophia finally said, we'll visit, but just for one day. The next Saturday, Daniel came to pick them up in a blue car. He helped them buckle their seatbelts and put their backpacks in the trunk. I thought we could go to the park first, he suggested. If that's okay with you. They went to the same park where their mother used to take them. Daniel pushed them on the swings and watched them climb on the monkey bars. He didn't talk too much or ask too many questions. He just stayed close by. At lunchtime, he took them to a pizza restaurant. Mom only let us have pizza on special days, Samuel told them as they sat down. Daniel nodded. I remember she was always careful about healthy food. You remember things about our mom? Sarah asked quietly. Many things, Daniel said. She loved yellow flowers. She laughed really loud at funny movies. She couldn't whistle, no matter how hard she tried. The triplets looked surprised. These were all true things about their mother that only someone who knew her well would know. After lunch, they drove to Daniel's apartment. It was on the 2nd floor of a red brick building. Inside, it was clean but very plain. There were no pictures on the walls, and the furniture looked new. I just moved in last week, Daniel explained. I thought maybe you could help me make it feel more like home. He showed them the bedroom he had prepared for them. There were 3 beds with new blue blankets. On each pillow was a stuffed animal, a bear, a dolphin, and an elephant. I didn't know what you liked, he said nervously. We can get different ones if you want. Sarah picked up the elephant and held it carefully. I like elephants, she whispered. In the kitchen, Daniel had put 3 drawings on the refrigerator with magnets. The triplets recognized them immediately. They were pictures they had drawn in kindergarten last year. How did you get those? Sophia asked, surprised. Your mother sent them to me, Daniel said. Years ago, before we lost touch, I kept them all this time. For dinner, Daniel made spaghetti. It wasn't as good as their mother's, but it wasn't bad either. While they ate, Samuel asked about the army. Did you shoot bad guys? He wanted to know. Daniel's face grew serious. I mostly built things, bridges and roads. I tried not to hurt anyone if I could help it. After dinner, Daniel drove them back to Mrs. Wilson's house. As they got out of the car, he handed each of them a small card with his phone number on it. If you ever need to talk to me, you can call anytime, he said, day or night. The triplets took the cards and said goodbye. As they walked to Mrs. Wilson's door, Sarah turned back and waved. Daniel waved back, a hopeful look on his face. That night, as they got ready for bed, Samuel said, "He's not as bad as I thought he would be. He's still a stranger," Sophia reminded him. "But he knew things about Mom," Sarah said, hugging her new elephant. None of them said what they were all thinking. Nothing would ever bring their mother back, but maybe, just maybe, they weren't completely alone after all. 2 weeks after their first visit, the triplets moved into Daniel's apartment. Ms. Jenkins helped them pack their clothes and special toys. Mrs. Wilson cried as she hugged them goodbye. "I'm just across town if you need me," she told them, "and I'll visit often." The first few days were strange and quiet. Daniel tried hard to make things normal, but no one really knew what normal was anymore. The triplets kept to themselves, whispering together in their bedroom at night. "Do you think he'll stay?" Sarah asked her siblings as they lay in their beds. "Mom always stayed," Samuel said, "but he left before." "That was different," Sophia reminded them. "He was in the army." One morning, Daniel knocked softly on their bedroom door. "I found something yesterday," he said, "something I think you should see." He led them to the living room table where a large cardboard box sat. The word EVANS was written on the side in black marker. "This was in a storage unit I rented before I went overseas," Daniel explained. "I thought everything was lost, but they kept it all these years." He opened the box carefully. Inside were photo albums, letters, and small baby items. The triplets moved closer, curious. Daniel lifted out 3 tiny hospital bracelets. Each had a name written on it: Sophia Evans, Samuel Evans, and Sarah Evans. "These were on your wrists when you were born," he told them. "You were so small, I could hold each of you in one hand." Sarah touched her bracelet gently. "You were there when we were born." Daniel nodded. "I was. It was the most amazing day of my life." He pulled out a photo album next. The first picture showed Eleanor in a hospital bed, looking tired but happy. Daniel sat beside her, holding 3 tiny bundles. "That's us?" Samuel asked, pointing to the bundles. "Yes," Daniel said. "You were only 2 hours old." They looked through more photos. There was one of Daniel giving tiny Sarah a bath in the kitchen sink. Another showed him sleeping on the couch with Sophia and Samuel on his chest. "You took care of us," Sophia said. It wasn't a question, but a surprise statement. "For 6 months," Daniel confirmed. "Then I got called to active duty." At the bottom of the box, they found 3 small blankets with their names stitched on them. The triplets recognized these immediately. "Mom kept these on our beds until we were 5, Samuel exclaimed. "I made them," Daniel said quietly. "I didn't know how to sew very well, but I wanted you each to have something special from me." The triplets looked at him with new eyes. This man wasn't just a stranger who appeared at their mother's funeral. He was someone who had held them, bathed them, and made blankets for them. That evening at dinner, Samuel noticed something. "You eat pizza crust first," he said to Daniel. "I do that too." Daniel smiled. "Your mother always thought it was strange. She saved the crust for last." "Just like me," Sarah said. "And me," Sophia added. After dinner, they watched a movie together. Daniel laughed at a funny scene, and Sophia turned to stare at him. "What?" he asked, noticing her look. "You snort when you laugh really hard," she said. "I do that too. Kids at school make fun of me for it." Daniel's face grew serious. "There's nothing wrong with a good snort laugh. It means you're really happy." The next day was Saturday. Daniel took them to a science museum. As they walked through the dinosaur exhibit, he read all the information signs out loud. "Mom always did that too," Samuel told him. "She said it's important to learn the facts." "She was right," Daniel agreed. "Your mother was very smart." Later, at the gift shop, Daniel let each child pick out one small toy. Sarah chose a stuffed dinosaur. Samuel got a rocket ship kit. Sophia selected a book about stars. Interesting choices, Daniel said as they walked to the car. Sarah, I collected dinosaur figures when I was your age. And Sophia, I studied astronomy in college. Really? Sophia asked, surprised again. Really, Daniel confirmed. And Samuel, I built model rockets with my dad every summer. That night, as Daniel tucked them into bed, Sarah asked, Did you love our mom? Daniel sat on the edge of her bed. Very much, he said honestly. She was the bravest, kindest person I ever knew. Then why did you leave? Sophia asked from her bed. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Sometimes adults make mistakes, he finally said, even when they love each other. My biggest mistake was not fighting harder to stay with all of you. Are you going to leave again? Samuel asked. Daniel shook his head firmly. Never, he promised. I'm here for as long as you'll have me. As he turned out the light, the triplets felt something new growing inside them, not happiness exactly, but maybe the beginning of trust. Mom, I lost another tooth, Samuel told the grave one Sunday. Dad says the tooth fairy will come tonight. I drew you a picture in art class, Sarah said, placing a colorful drawing near the flowers. Sophia usually didn't say anything out loud. She would touch the gravestone and close her eyes, as if sending her mother silent messages. After their visit, they always went for ice cream at the shop near the cemetery. It had become their Sunday tradition. Did you and Mom have traditions? Sarah asked Daniel as she licked her strawberry cone. Daniel nodded. Every Friday night, we would make pizza from scratch. She would roll the dough, and I would chop the toppings. Can we do that? Samuel asked. Make pizza on Fridays. I'd like that very much, Daniel said with a small smile. The next Friday, they made pizza together. Daniel taught them how to stretch the dough without breaking it. They made a mess with the tomato sauce, and cheese ended up on the floor, but the pizza tasted wonderful. Best pizza ever, Daniel declared as they ate. Mom would have liked it, Sophia said quietly. Daniel looked at her with gentle eyes. Yes, she would have. As summer went on, they began to feel more like a real family. Daniel learned that Sophia loved to read, so he took her to the library every Saturday. Samuel wanted to play soccer, so Daniel signed him up for a team and never missed a game. Sarah was shy around new people, so he sat with her at the playground until she felt brave enough to join the other children. One hot July day, Miss Jenkins came to visit. She sat with Daniel in the kitchen while the triplets played in the living room. How is everything going? She asked. Better, Daniel said. There are still hard days, but we're figuring it out. Miss Jenkins smiled. The children seem happier, more settled. They ask about their mother every day, Daniel told her. I want them to remember her, to know how amazing she was. And the final custody paperwork came through, Miss Jenkins asked. Daniel nodded. Yes, it's official now. They're mine legally. But I've always felt they were mine in my heart. That evening, after the triplets were in bed, Daniel sat on the balcony of their apartment. He held a small wooden box, one he had found in Eleanor's house before it was sold. Inside were letters she had written to him over the years but never sent. I wish you could see them now, Ellie, he whispered to the night sky. They have your smile, your kindness. The next morning was Saturday. Daniel made pancakes for breakfast, chocolate chip for Sarah, blueberry for Samuel, and plain for Sophia, just like their mother used to make. I have something to ask you all, he said as they ate. How would you feel about moving to a house with a yard for playing? The triplets looked at each other with wide eyes. Like our old house? Samuel asked. A different house? Daniel explained. But yes, a real house, not an apartment. I found one near your school. It has 4 bedrooms and a big backyard with a tree perfect for a swing. Can we see it? Sophia asked. That afternoon, they drove to the house. It was white with blue shutters and had flowers in the front yard. Inside, it was empty but full of light from big windows. This bedroom could be yours, Sarah, Daniel said, showing her a room with pink walls. My own room, she asked, surprised. If you want, Daniel said. Or you 3 can still share. It's up to you. They explored the whole house. There was a kitchen with a big table, a living room with a fireplace, and a backyard with an apple tree. "What do you think?" Daniel asked when they had seen everything. The triplets looked at each other, having one of their silent conversations. "We like it," Sophia finally said. "But what?" Daniel asked gently. "Can we bring Mom's things?" Samuel asked. "Her favorite chair and the pictures of us." "Of course," Daniel said. "This will be her home too, in a way. She'll always be part of our family." "Then we want to live here," Sarah said. The other two nodded in agreement. 2 weeks later, they moved into their new house. Daniel hung pictures of Eleanor in every room. He put the triplets' baby blankets, the ones he had made, in a special display case in the hallway. That night, after the children were asleep in their new rooms, Daniel sat on the porch steps. The summer air was warm, and stars filled the sky. "We're going to be okay, Ellie," he said softly. "It won't be easy, but we'll be okay." Inside the house, the Evans triplets slept peacefully, each dreaming their own dreams. They had lost their mother, but found their father. Their family was different now, but it was still a family. And somewhere, perhaps among the stars, Eleanor Evans was watching over them all.